And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. 'Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
the same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And, you know,
from the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. I think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
Only one true. Only one true ethnic Jew, the Mizrahi Jew, because they are Africans, and if you read the original Bible written in Phoenician Hebrew, they're not. Jewish people are not Europeans. The modern Jews in Israel are Russians or Khazars to be precise, from Russia. I learned it from my grandfather that he was because he was an Ashkenazi Jew.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Most Egyptologists and anthropologists, archaeologists of the Eurocentric persuasion will say that Egypt is in Africa. They had to concede that, but then they still draw the line by saying that they weren't Africans like that. In other words, they weren't dark-skinned people. And of course, this is all part of the Great Deception. And the reality is that if they give up Egypt, ancient Kemet, if they give that up and say that that was a part of black Africa, then they will also have to give up Israel. And that's why they draw the line at Egypt, because if they give up Egypt, they've got to give up Israel.
Now, we're going to go over here, and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai, okay? This is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right, this is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluach Africani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluach Africani, which means that Israel is northeast Africa.
Without question, we are in Northeast Africa. We are landlocked to Egypt, with the exception of the Suez Canal, which was a man-made ditch, a boundary now between, in fact, it's not even really a boundary anymore since Egypt has reclaimed the Sinai Peninsula. But nevertheless, even those of us who are Pan-Africanists in our thinking and Afrocentric, we forget and we leave off that portion of Northeast Africa and don't want to claim anything beyond that.
Europeans classified this area as the Middle East. You know, and then since this the Middle East, the other question, where the Middle West? Where the Middle North and where the Middle South? They don't have no geographical terms like that.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israelite, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time, all that he said,
no, we don't have
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to? I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? That is the question I have for you.
Thank you. I'll answer that question.
Go ahead, I will help you.
After the demise of Solomon, we now have the northern and southern kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites. So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites.
Well, it's depending.
So minority cannot swallow the majority. We are here. We are the majority down here. So you are minority, and we are older than you.
That's why you called Israel. Is it real? No, it's not. How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did y'all?
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Hope all is well with you guys. Want to say Shalom Lak, Mash Pakha. Hope you guys are having a blessed Shabbat.
I want to say Shabbat Shalom. I hope and pray that it is well with you guys. And we're not going to prolong getting into the lesson. Did want to start off with some videos, clips, just to kind of set the tone here. And we got a lot to cover. So initially I was going to do this lesson tomorrow night, but I chose to do it tonight, give you guys some room to be able to go over the lesson. And tomorrow night, I'm going to schedule it to do a discussion about the whole selective, what I call a selective outrage when it comes to the Netflix movie, the Netflix documentary with Jada Pickett Smith that helped produce this. And I want to really want to really discuss that, because it's a lot of, as I call it, selective outrage over the situation with that, and how things are being blown completely out of proportion. So I really want to deal with that. And again, selective outrage. So we're going to cover that tomorrow night, but I am going to touch on it a little bit tonight, because that's going to tie into part 2 of our lesson, continuing with the battle for Africa. And we're really going to continue to deal with the prophecies, as you see on your the ticker here, the battle for Africa, come and see, right? Actually, that's incorrect. Let me clear that up. That come to see portion shouldn't be there. Let me clear the banner up. But the battle for Africa is what we're going to really deal with tonight. But let me fix this. Not sure. Let me stop this banner. And let me edit this here. Yeah, I thought I modified it. Not sure why I didn't save. Let's see if I can still do it. Yeah, here we go. Let me update it. Not sure why it didn't save. All right, there we go. All right, let's start it again. All right. So our lesson for tonight is still part 2 to the prophecies, the 4 horsemen, the battle for Africa. This is episode 2. And tonight we're going to deal with blood drunk. We're going to deal with being blood drunk. And we're going to touch a little bit on the selective outrage with the so-called modern Egyptians. And it's a lot that's going on. I mean, other communities, whenever they have an opportunity to throw shots at our community, they will do it by any means. And so I was watching a clip or video of Pierre Morgan had a guy by the name of Bassem Youssef on his channel, who just gave nothing but complete lies, literally tried to reduce our community to just merely west coast of Africa, had the audacity, he and others from that community, of blaming us or saying that we are black washing, go figure, and, a bunch of lies. And I want to say this to many of you guys. Don't perpetuate the foolishness. Don't perpetuate the foolishness. I know many of our brothers and sisters will say, hey, they'll take on that talking point. Oh yeah, Cleopatra. Yeah, she was Macedonian. She was Greek. Family, let's stop it. And we're going to touch on it tomorrow night, go into more details, but facts. Her father, okay, Greek, Ptolemy. Her mother, proven. Her mother, her grandmother, and her sister, proven to be Negroes, proven to be, if you want to use the term Africans, because African is used synonymously with black, according to the institution of race. So if many will come up with that whole talking point, saying, "Oh yeah, she's Greek, she's Macedonian," but don't want to talk about the mother, don't want to talk about her grandmother, don't want to talk about her sister, don't want to do have those type of discussions, but want to continue to perpetuate the lies. And that's what's so sad. So if you're going to bring up that portion of the history, bring up the full history. Bring up the full history. Don't just say she was Macedonian, which they use that synonymously with being Greek. Bring up the African side. Bring up the Egyptian side. Bring up her mother, grandmother, and sister being Black. And I don't like using that institutional race construct, but for the sake of conversation, bring that up. Let's talk about the one drop rule. Let's talk about the term mulatto that was, a term used for people that are mixed with our community. And they still fell up under being Negroes and enslaved. But now the selective outrage don't want to acknowledge that portion of history. They don't want to talk about the one drop blood rule. It wasn't just for the United States. They don't want to talk about that portion of it. And so I see a question by Cindy, which bloodline does the child take on? And you have to understand, according to the Hebrew Israelite culture, the child takes on the bloodline of the father. But of course, not other communities don't simply go off of that, even though, yes, you have the father is very important. But Cleopatra, right, was still referred to as an Egyptian among the Egyptians. Race was not how it is today. So regardless of how we want to classify her, just like there was Israelites that mixed, the scripture tells us that there were a mixed multitude. Let me adjust something real quick here because I see my camera doing something here. So again, let's not fall into the trap that many of these people, with their poor arguments of what they are using. All right, let me try it this way. The poor arguments that they're using for Cleopatra. We have to just call it what it is. All right across the board. But let's get into it. I don't want to do a lot of talking. I want to get right into the lesson. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the lesson. The battle for Africa, blood drunk. All right, but I want to start off with some of these images here. What you see is on your screen right now is Amenhotep III. And I'm going to touch on this tomorrow night. Right, this is what's his name? What they would call King Tut. This will be his grandfather. Right, this is his grandmother. Right, Queen Tayi. Notice the image. Notice the feature. Notice who she looked like. This is another image of her. Look at the hair. Look at the braids. And I have another picture of a wig that looks just like this, but because when you study the chemicals that they use for us to preserve the bodies, you'll see that it straightens the hair. So I have a wig from the 18th dynasty, but the base of it still has some of the locks in it. But this portion of it looks straight. Right? These are melanated people, family. See, if we allow them to change and modify all the players in Africa, like key players that we see within our scriptures, the Egyptians, and the scripture tells us not to abhor an Egyptian. Right? But we see the Egyptians, we see Ethiopia. Those are some of the communities that are connected to our community in terms of interaction. That's the point I want to make. So let's show a couple of more images. Let me hold up. Bear with me 1 second here. Not sure. Let me take this down for a second. All right, let me clear this slide up here. I heard a little feedback, so that's why I'm pausing real quick. All right. All right, let me do it now. Anyway, that should do it. All right, let me bring it back up. All right, so this here is Nefertiti. This is Nefertiti, family. This is Nefertiti. She has braids in her hair. This is Nefertiti, not the one that you saw, some of you guys saw on Good Morning America, that nonsense that they tried to share and show how she would look, and they made her look more European, made her look European, not more European. One made her look Turkish, and we'll deal with that a little bit for a quick minute. But look at what you see here. Right? These are braids. These are braids. See, they're not going to show you this image of Nefertiti, 18th century, 18th dynasty, rather. They're not going to show you this here. They're not going to show you this here. They're not going to show you these wigs that women wore, some of the women wore in the 18th dynasty. These are the 18th dynasty wigs here. Look how they look. I have more pictures. I have more pictures that I can show. Matter of fact, I could show this video while I'm talking, but let me bring it up here. I'll just play this video real quick. Let me play this video here real quick, and you'll see a video of wigs, Negro wigs, in the British Museum. This is what they don't want to show you. This is what they don't want to show us. But yet they have the audacity to call us Kevin Hart, Jada Pickett, the Afrocentric movement, so to speak, as that guy Youssef blatantly lied about. Want to come up with this term, blackwashing. Whereas though the question you can ask them, well, if they are the original people, why are they practicing Islam now? Why is Islam pretty much the religion of the land? See, that's what they won't show you, family. That's why I say anything but the Negroes, right? Anything, anyone but the Negroes. Didn't have a problem with Cleopatra. Didn't have a problem with Cleopatra being portrayed by Elizabeth Taylor. Didn't have a problem with Pharaoh being portrayed by Yul Brynner, who is a Russian actor. Didn't have a problem with that. Didn't have a problem with that. So the media, this propaganda machine is now trying to do everything they can to sabotage the movie. I'm going to watch it, and we're going to do a review of it. All right. But anyway, let's go and continue here. I want to get into the lesson here, right? Because we want to continue with the lesson, the battle for Africa. All right. And we want to start off with the black horses. Let's start off with the black horses. All right. Let's start off with the black horses. Right. And you guys remember this. This is pretty much a review from kind of like a review from the previous lesson. And I'm going here for a reason. I want to touch a little bit on this black horse. Again, I want to reiterate this black horse. So you see here, Revelation chapter 6, verse 5 and 6, it says, "And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, 'Come and see,' and I beheld, and lo, a black horse." Now, when you read this, right, because this connects directly with Zechariah chapter 6, horse is plural. That's why I put the plural here, because if you really want to understand this prophecy, you have to go to Zechariah 6. For those that are not familiar with the book of Revelation, you cannot try to understand these prophecies or make an attempt to understand these prophecies without going to Jeremiah, without going to Zechariah, without going to the book of Daniel, without going to the book of Ezekiel, without going to the book of Isaiah, because these prophecies go hand in hand. So horse is actually plural. So the black horses is plural. All right. So it goes on to say, "And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand." Verse 6, "And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, 'A measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine.'" So when we talked about this, when we discussed this last week, we dealt with the transatlantic world war, right? And still connected this to the white horse, connected this particular horse to capitalism. And we're going to still piggyback on the capitalism, but I want to show you this again. I want to go through this particular portion of the slides again from last week, just a refresher. The transatlantic world war. This is coming from slavery and the Catholic Church, right? Papal grants to the kings of Portugal, plural, right? Remember, the black horse is plural, horses. The white horse is plural, white horses. All in Zechariah, they're plural. So not just one individual or one particular nation, but all those that are connected to that nation, all those that are connected to this belief system. So papal grants to the kings of Portugal, giving authority to enslave the Saracens and other non-Christians of West Africa, with whom Christendom is at war, 1452 through 1514. And 1442, well, actually, let me go back here. I want to just brush over it. It says Christendom is at war. Forgive me for brushing over this, because I want to reiterate that point. For those that keep looking at the transatlantic slave trade as a slave trade, it was a world war. It's not a slave trade. It was never a slave trade. It was a world war. They declared war. That white horse declared war, and all that's connected to that white horse can declare war, and all those that are connected to that black horse was still by way of that white horse made a lot of money. Capitalism. So papal grants to the kings of Portugal giving authority to enslave Saracens and other non-Christians of West Africa, with whom Christendom is at war. Christendom is synonymous to Catholicism or Catholic. Truth be told, the word Christian, or Christianity rather, did not exist until the 10th century. They were Catholics. Christendom again is synonymous to Catholics. But Christendom is at war. 1452, 1514. In 1442, a Portuguese captain brought to the Gold Coast some Moorish prisoners of war, exchanged them for 10 Negro slaves. Not going to go into the details. There's a reason why you see Moorish versus Negroes, making a distinction, right? Making a distinction here, right? Of who's who. Moorish, Muslims, Negroes, of course, our people. And brought these back to Lisbon, a trading settlement, and was established at Lagos by 1444. It would appear that by 1452, the Portuguese were anxious to establish their property rights over their newly discovered West African territories. And so Pope Nicholas V was approached and was apparently led to believe that these territories of the Guinea coast were inhabited by Saracens and other enemies of Christendom. There is no other explanation of a series of papal documents, right? Documents of Papa, which applied the well-known contemporary rules of war. Let me say that again. Which applied the well-known contemporary rules of war. So not only did we have nations at war with us, we had the religious system of Catholicism coming against our community. We had Christians that was coming against our community. And anyone that was connected to this white horse, connected to that black horse, and I'm going to mention a few of them here in a second here. They were all part of this war, declared war on our community. But the Pope, which applied the well-known contemporary rules of war to the situation in West Africa, whereas the Portuguese were well aware the local Negro inhabitants were not Saracens, were not Muslims, and were not the enemies of Christendom. So we're going to break down Saracens so you understand what it means. Said that they were not Muslims, said that they were not enemies of Christendom. Why is that? Okay, so again, they were not Saracens, were not Muslims. So let's see who the Saracens are. This is coming from the Britannica online, right? This is what it says. Saracen in the Middle Ages, any person, Arab, Turk, or others who profess the religion of Islam. Let me say that again. Arab, Turk, or other who profess the religion of Islam. So when it says that they're not Saracens, said that they're not Arabs, these people are not Turks, and they are not professing the religion of Islam. That's what this means. So again, let's start with Saracens. Said that they were not Saracens, they are not Arabs, they are not Turks. Let's just reiterate this point here. The Saracens, they were not Saracens. So the Saracens, just to make it so that way we understand the slide that's up here, the Saracens, they are Arabs, they are Turks, they are those that are practicing Islam. That's who they identify. So the Saracens were Arabs, they were Turks. All right. So let's go back to, again, this attributes of this black horse. What is the attributes of this black horse? And I'm going to bring all of this together. Instead of a weapon, the black horse riders has a pair of balances in his hand. All right. Balance indicates commerce. They are used to measure an item being bought or sold. Who is being bought? Who is being sold? They even had their own currency for our people. The Manila bracelets, you know, those bracelets you see today that many of our brothers and sisters are wearing, those bronze bracelets. Guess what? That was currency. That was currency, depending on how many marks on it, and the tone, the lightness, or the tone, right, of the bracelet determine how many slaves that bracelet was worth. They had an actual currency for our people, buying and selling our people. So again, instead of a weapon, the black horse riders has a pair of balances in his hand. Balances indicate commerce. They are used to measure an item being bought or sold. So there is a spirit in this world, a spirit that was back then, that's still today, that is very similar to communism, but its message is trade. This particular horse, its message is driven by capitalism. So again, it says that they were not Saracens. In other words, they were not Turks. So remember, Saracens are Arabs and Turks. Well, why am I saying that? Because if you understand what Aaron Elhake or Elhike, the geneticist John Hopkins, he proved through DNA, through genetics, that most of the Jewish community of today are descendants of Turks. Let me prove it here. This is coming out of Khazaria, evidence for Jewish genome lacking. These are his words, right? And I'm going to drop this link inside the chat for those that want to have a copy of this. All right. Hopefully they didn't take the link down, but it still should be there. I'm going to drop the link inside the comments section. All right, let's see here. All right, let me copy this link. All right, let me drop this inside the comment section. All right, so you guys have it, so that way you can review it later. So Aaron Elhike, a geneticist at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, thinks so. In a recently published study in Genome Biology, Evolution, he is calling for a rewrite of commonly held assumptions about Jewish ancestry. Instead of being primarily the descendants of the 12 tribes, present-day Jewish populations are, finds Elhake, primarily the children of a Turkish people. Let me read it one more time. Present-day Jewish population are, finds Elhake or Elhike, primarily the children of a Turkish people.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
So they're primarily descendants of a Turkish people. Now look at what it says here, who live in now what is Russia, north of Georgia, east of Ukraine. This civilization, the Khazars, converted from tribal religions to Judaism between the 7th and the 9th century. All right. And of course, the Jews were major players. The Jewish community, as we know them, were major players with owning slaves. You guys remember this source. I'll bring this source up from time to time. Jews and Judaism in the United States, a documentary history. Rabbi Mark Lee Raphael. So no one can say that I'm making this up. This is a rabbi, a Jewish rabbi, a book that he wrote, 1983. Notice what he says here. Jews also took an active part in the Dutch colonial slave trade. Indeed, the bylaws of the Recife and Mauritia congregations, it says in 1648, included an imposta, in other words, a Jewish tax of 5 soldos for each Negro slave a Brazilian Jew purchased from the West Indies Company. Slave auctions were postponed if they fell on a Jewish holiday. In Correggio, excuse me if I butchered the name, in the 17th century, as well as in the British colonies of Barbados and Jamaica in the 18th century, Jewish merchants played a major role in the slave trade. Let me say that again. Jewish merchants played a major role in the slave trade. In fact, in all the American colonies, whether French, British, or Dutch, Jewish merchants frequently dominated. Let me say that again. The Jewish merchants frequently dominated. Let me read it one more time. In fact, in all the American colonies, wait a minute, in all the American colonies, let me say it one more time, in all of the American colonies, whether French, whether it's British or Dutch, Jewish merchants frequently dominated.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
This was no less true on the North American mainland, where during the 18th century, Jews participated in the triangular trade that brought slaves from Africa to the West Indies and there exchanged them for molasses, which in turn was taken to New England and converted into rum for sale in Africa. Right, New England. That's where you get into Massachusetts, Vermont, Connecticut, that area. Yes, there were slave Jewish settlements up there, and yes, you had slaves up in that area. All right. So again, this is just giving some names here, but it makes it clear these individuals, all these individuals here, are Jewish. Right. This is Charleston, South Carolina, Philadelphia, Newport News, Virginia. It says here, dominated Jewish slave trading on the American continent. And these European outposts, the Jews, with their years of mercantile experience and networks of friends and family providing market reports of great use, played a significant role in the merchant capitalism. Did we just say that? Capitalism? Didn't we just mention that? We just mentioned that. Confirming that they are part of that black horse. They are a part of that black horse. Can't get around it, family. Can't get around it. Can't get around it. And these European outposts, the Jews, with their years of mercantile experience and networks of friends and family providing market reports of great use, played a significant role in the merchant capitalism, commercial revolution, right? In territorial expansion that developed the New World and established the colonial, and family, we got to stop looking for something new. The New World Order has been here and running with full steam. Anyone that's prophesying and giving prophecy of saying, anticipating of a new world order, they're not teaching prophecy correctly. They're teaching a Eurocentric, a heavily Euro-influenced prophecy. The New World Order has been in full effect. So capitalism, commercial revolution, and territorial expansion that developed the New World and established the colonial economics. The Jewish Caribbean nexus provided Jews with the opportunity to claim a disproportionate influence in the 17th, the 18th century, New World commerce, and enabled West Indian Jewry far outnumbering, let me say that again, far outnumbering its co-religionists. Further north to enjoy a certain centrality with North American Jewry would not achieve for a long time to come. Groups of Jews began to arrive in Suriname in the middle of the 17th century after the Portuguese regained control of northern Brazil by 1694, 27 years after the British had surrounded Suriname to Dutch. There were about 100 Jewish families and 50 single Jews there, or about 570 persons. They possessed more than 40 estates and 9,000 slaves, contributed 25,905 pounds of sugar as a gift for the building of a hospital, and carried on an active trade with Newport and other colonial ports. By By 1730, Jews owned 115 plantations and were a large part of a sugar export business. This is where you get Domino sugar, right? Which sent out 21,680,000 pounds of sugar to European and New World markets in 1730 alone. Slave trading was a major feature of Jewish economics, going back to capitalism. Slave trading was a major feature of Jewish economic life in Suriname, which as a major stopping off point in the triangular trade. Both North American and Caribbean Jews played a key role in this commerce. All right, so our Arabs, the Saracens, they are Turks. And we also proved that the Saracens, right, they could connect, they closely related to the Jewish community as we know them. But let's take it a step further. These modern Arabs, right, these modern Arabs, they're not the ancient Arabs. They're not the seeds of Ishmael. These modern Arabs are Turks, all right? Some of you guys may have seen the short video I uploaded yesterday, but this is just kind of echoing yesterday, and I just want to echo a little bit what was said here, right? This is an article here about the director of Cleopatra Speaks Out. She spoke out and addressed the selective outrage. It says here, while shooting, I became the target of a huge online hate campaign. Egyptians accused me of blackwashing and stealing their history. But notice what she says here. Some threatened to ruin my career, which I wanted to tell them was laughable. I was ruining it very well for myself. Thank you very much. No amount of reasoning or reminders that Arab invasions had not yet happened in Cleopatra's age. If you understand what she said here, this is a mic drop right here. Because what we hear from these, from the church, what we hear from the Jewish community as we know them, what we hear from all these different groups, they try to tell you, for example, that they use these Turks as the barometer of trying to say how the people, what they call the Middle East today, which is Northeast Africa, look. This is where you get the term, and I'm sure you guys probably heard this before, Christ, he wasn't black, but he wasn't white either. He was olive. Now, have you guys heard that before? If you heard that before, just type one. As a matter of fact, I'll put it up here in the let's see here. I'll put a poll here. I'll put a poll here. All right. All right. So we got over 200 people here. Watch. Let's get that likes up. Let's try to get to 200 and let's start our road to 50,000 subscribers. And again, if you have a YouTube channel, even if you don't have any subscribers, share this video on your channel. Share this video. I want to encourage everyone that's connected to We Woke Now. YouTube has me shadow banned. They've been suppressing the likes and all that. They've been suppressing the views and all the subscribers. So how we break that? If we have 100 people here, each one of you guys have a YouTube account. Just share the video in your community channel. Just share it. Just click share, and it'll share it on your channel. Let's get at least if we have 100 people here that already liked the video, more than likely you guys have a YouTube account. Share the video on your account, and that'll help us knock down the nonsense. All right, that'll help us break this algorithm that they're trying to do that they use to suppress our channels. But anyway, so we hear that all the time, that the green olive, right? Christ, the Israelites, they all were olive, and they're referring to the green olive. That's why I came up with a lesson titled "The Martian Christ versus the Negro Messiah." Anything but the Negroes. And I encourage you guys, if you haven't watched it, those that are new to the channel, go to the foundational playlist, and you will see that lesson. I really go in. I prove that the Messiah had locks. I prove that Solomon give you proper clarity on Solomon, his appearance and everything. So I encourage you guys to go there. But nevertheless, that's why I said a Martian Christ, because they'll say Christ, right? He's olive, but they're not referring to the blue-black olive. They're referring to that green, yellowish, that sickly looking olive. That's what they're referring to. And that's what she says here. She's making it clear. Reminders that the Arab invasion had not yet happened in Cleopatra's age. Most people don't know about the Arab invasion. I'm going to briefly touch on this, but tomorrow night we'll go deeper on this. The Arab invasion. So she's saying, hey, that didn't happen in Cleopatra's age. So in a nutshell, what she's saying is, you can't say she was olive. You can't say she looked like she was Turkish. That's what she's saying here. It says here, no amount of reasoning or reminders that Arab invasions had not yet happened in Cleopatra's age seemed to stem the tide of ridiculous comments. Amir, in his bedroom in Cairo, wrote to me to earnestly appeal that Cleopatra was Greek. Notice how she slammed him, which is a good thing. Oh, Lord, why would that be a good thing to you, Amir? You're Egyptian. What she's saying is, you would rather for her to be a Greek than to even have the thought that she was mixed with our community. That's what she's slamming her with. You would rather pump your chest out and say she was Greek. Come on, family. That's exactly what she's saying here. Remember the one drop rule, right? Ptolemy, okay, Greek. Macedonian, that's Greek. But what about the mother? What about the grandmother? What about the sister? Who always proven to be dark melanated people? All right. So was Cleopatra black? We don't know for sure, but we can be certain she wasn't white like Elizabeth Taylor. We need to have a conversation with ourselves about how colorism and the internalized white supremacy that Hollywood has indoctrinated us with. Come on, family. We done had everything whitewashed, our whole identity taken from us. So when we understand the Arabs and what she was saying here, she was referring to the Arab invasion of Egypt. So during the reign of Umar, the second caliph of the Arabs, Arab armies under the leadership of Amr ibn al-As invaded and conquered Egypt in 639 AD. Now, let me confirm a few more things with this source here, Outlines of Ancient Egyptian History. Notice what it says here. How often do we see in Eastern monarchies and even in European states a difference of origin between the ruling class to which the royal family belongs and the mass of the people? We need not leave Western Asia and Egypt. We find there Turks ruling over the nation. Wait a minute. We find there what? Turks. We find there what? Turks ruling over nations to the race of which they do not belong, although they have adopted their religion. See what they're saying, that the Turks took over the Egyptian belief system, the Egyptian culture, and made it their own. Josephus talks about that. About the Greeks or the Romans doing the same thing, the Greeks doing the same thing. In the same way as the Turks of Baghdad, who are Finns, now reign over Semites, Turanian kings may have led into Egypt and governed a population of mixed origin, where the Semitic element was prevalent. If we consider the mixing up of races which took place in Mesopotamia in remote ages, the invasions which the country had to suffer, the repeated conflicts of which it was the theater, there is nothing extraordinary that populations coming out of this land should have presented a variety of races and origins. So again, that term race is a word of confusion because that is something that is used today. It's a modern construct that they backdated. They weren't dealing with races in terms of skin complexion. It was all about nations, bloodline, had nothing to do with skin complexion. So when you hear the term Africa, they use Africa to default to black. They use Greek or Macedonian to default to white. They use Asia to default to what we see like Chinese, default to the Chinese or Japanese, those people. They purposely come up with these constructs to bring further division to create a new social identity. All right. So the Journal of Cambrian Archaeological Association, it says this: Mr. Baldwin draws a marked distinction between the modern Mohammedan Semitic population of Arabia and their Cushite, Hamite, or Ethiopian predecessor. The former, he says, are comparatively modern and Arabia. They have appropriated the reputation of the old race and have unduly occupied the chief attention of modern scholars. So these same people have taken what? Everything. They basically, they're the culture vultures. They're the ones that are the culture vultures. We can't get around it. They were the true culture vultures, but yet they tried to call our people, tried to call Kevin Hart a culture vulture. So the Ottomans, and this is what, and we're going to touch on the Ottomans tomorrow night as well. The Ottomans, in other words, Turks, invaded Africa in 1534 and remained a ruling power in Africa for 4 centuries and established 5 separate administrations in Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, and Eritrea, excuse me. So they basically, they ran North Africa. Now we're dealing with the Ottoman invasion. They invaded North Africa, Morocco, and all of those places. Those are Turkish people that you see there, outside of those that look like you and I. But you don't hear them talking about this. All right. That's just a little bit that I wanted to touch on, still tying into the lesson. All right. Let's continue to progress in this. Let's move forward here. Are there any other prophecies that supports the battle for Africa? Revelation chapter 17, verse 6. Let's go there. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. Quadayash, or Quadash is the primitive root word. And with the blood of the martyrs of Yahweh Shai. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Right? See, this word saints is a very deceptive word, family. I don't call myself a saint. And neither should you. That word saint wasn't created for us. That word saint was created for the Catholic Church and whomever they deem to be holy after they die. So what this is dealing with is the blood descendants of Israel. And when it says the martyrs, those that follow the Messiah as well, those that have died for the Messiah. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. This is not dealing with the church family. And this is when we get into words of confusion, replacement theology, covenant theology, because many would teach this and put here saints, the church. No, it's the church, as I proved, the Roman Catholic Church. It's Islam, it's Judaism, it's these religious systems that fall up under that black horse of capitalism that have enslaved our people. They are not the saints. They are actually the ones, that woman that I'm going to prove here, drunken with the blood drunk. Oh, anyway. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. So let's deal with the etymology dictionary definition of the word saint. It says here, from the 12th century, we see here a saint, a holy relic. It goes on to say holy, consecrated, adopted into most Germanic, right? But it goes on to say originally an adjective prefix to the name of a canonized person. That's the key. That's the key. Name of a canonized person. Right? Name of a canonized person. Now we get into Catholicism. So the etymology dictionary definition says the word saint is the name of a canonized person. So now let's delve into a little bit more about the deception of the word saint. Let's start with the steps to sainthood. Let's see what sainthood means, or at least how they define it and what's the process here, right? So it says here, and I'm going to drop this link in the chat for you guys to review it. All right, so you guys can look at it at your leisure. Let me drop this source here. You guys know how we do here. We don't hoard. We share information. So let me drop this source here. All right, there you go. All right. So like I said, family, tomorrow we'll deal with more of the discussion about Cleopatra, not just Cleopatra, but the Egyptians as a whole. We'll deal with the Turks and all that. But just kind of wanted to touch on it a little bit to set up the Black Horse, to set up the battle for Africa that is still going on to this day. All right. And if you haven't seen episode 1, I encourage you guys, go and watch episode 1, so that way you'll be brought up to speed and you won't kind of be feel lost about some of these horses. Watch episode 1. We shared a lot of information there. So saint, for all the beatified, both martyrs and confessors, to be canonized, one miracle is required. It must be proven that this event took place through the intercession of the blessed and after the date of his or her beatification. So this is the process of sainthood according to the Catholic Church, right? When you're dead, they have to confirm that you performed at least one miracle, right? So the process of canonization is very complex and thorough. A record number of saints have been canonized in the past 30 years, and about 2,000 candidates are being evaluated today. So this is how they define sainthood. This is not biblical. They have no power to define who's holy. But that word saint has nothing to do with the holy people of the Most High. Has nothing to do with Israel. All right. So the Hebrew definition that of the word that transliterates to saint, it says here holy. But again, let's not use that word saint. That's a word of confusion, a word of deception that points to the Catholic Church. It's a generalized term now. No, we're the holy people of Yah. Israel is the holy people of Yah. As you see here, holy, separate. All right. So let's go to the primitive root word of this word, which is quadash, right? Which means clean, consecrated, dedicate, keep, proclaim, purify, sanctify, hallow. Okay. So the transliterated word saint is actually referring to Israel, not to a church. It's supposed to point to Israel, not to a church. So when you look at the passage that we highlighted thus far, I'm going to prove to you that it's dealing with Israel. So in every verse where you see the word saint did not originally refer to Israel, but to the Roman Catholics. So let's deal with this word drunk and let's paint this. Let's really build this up. Let's give clarity of what we highlighted here. Okay, so shakar, which means to become tipsy, it means to satiate with a stimulating drink, influence, drink, be filled with drink, drunk, be drunk, made drunk, drunk in, be merry. So shakar means, in a nutshell, to become drunk, tipsy, right? Stimulated with drinking, influenced. All right. So drunk, shakar, in Hebrew means to become tipsy, to be filled by the influence. So when you see the scripture where it says that this woman was drunk on the blood of the holy people of the Most High, the Quadayash or Quadash, right, Israelites, that she was filled, she was tipsy, she was filled with the influence. The influence of what? So the bride of the serpent became drunk and filled with influence in taking the life of the Israelites. So who is this group that we're referring to? Starting with the black horse, capitalism, the white horse, as well. When we look at the Catholic Church, but we still tie all these religious systems up in there: Islam, Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism. The bride of the serpent became drunk and filled with the influence in taking the life of the Israelites. So let's deal with the Hebrew definition of the word bloodthirsty, right? The word dam, as you see here, blood, as that which when shed causes death. Notice here, it says of man, blood of man, blood shed, blood. Here's the kicker: blood, bloody, blood guiltiness, blood thirsty. That's the key that we want to highlight. Blood thirsty. Let me say that again. Blood thirsty, drunk, blood thirsty, blood shed. That's what this is what the scriptures, this prophecy is describing of this woman. So the bride of the serpent became drunk and filled with the the influence of innocent bloodshed. Let me say that again. The bride of the serpent became drunk and filled with the influence of innocent bloodshed. Here's proof. 2 Kings chapter 11, verse 1 and 2. Because again, if you want to understand that prophecy, you have to go to the law and the prophets. The first 5 books is the law. And then you have the books that follow it. It's the prophets, the writings of the kings, the chronicles of the kings. Because there was no such thing as First Kings, Second Kings. It was just the book of the kings. Wasn't no such thing as First Chronicles, Second Chronicles. All of this was tied together. So the book of the kings, the 11th chapter, and the Hebrew word for kings is malach. Right? So nevertheless, let's go here. And this is going to put things in its proper perspective. When Athaliah, the mother of Athaliah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal. I'm going to break this down here. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Uzziah, took Joash, the son of Uzziah, right, and stole him from among the king's sons, which were slain, and they hid him, even him and his nurse, in the bedchamber from Athaliah, so that he was not slain. So when the queen and mother Athaliah, or Athaliah, right, I'll say it again, Athaliah, received the report that her son Uzziah, in other words, Akaziah or Akaziah, that's how you pronounce it in ancient Hebrew. Again, Akaziah had been killed by Jehu or Yahai. She immediately made her move to claim the kingdom of Israel for herself. Let me say that again. When the queen and mother, Athaliah, right, she ruled as a queen of Israel for almost 5 years. She's the only queen of heaven over Israel. She served as a queen by herself for almost 5 years. Look it up. She received the report that her son, Uzziah, had been killed by Jehu. She immediately made her move to claim the kingdom of Israel for herself. Without hesitation, she killed all the heirs to the throne, the entire royal family, and assumed power. So Queen Athaliah murdered her own grandchildren. And of course, she was the daughter of who? Jezebel. Right? She's still the daughter of Jezebel, right? Let me say that again. She's still the daughter, but the source comes from who? Jezebel. Filled Shakar with a spirit of worldly ambition, Athaliah hungered for the power to rule. In a murderous rampage, she eliminated all competitors, the royal seed. So Athaliah was drunken by the blood of the saints. Actually, correction. She was drunken by the blood of the Israelites. So Athaliah, she is drunk from the blood of the seed royal. But guess what? She is still simply a daughter, right? So guess what? The Catholic Church is still simply a daughter because the mother is Judaism, no matter how you look at it. The Catholic Church is a daughter of who? Judaism. Islam is a daughter of what? Judaism, because Islam, do the research, the Catholic Church had a major influence on creating Islam. It was using the Moors, using those guys to go chase for our people, to hunt us down. So we see it right here. Right? I see a question. Didn't Maccabees say the royals of Mitzrayim fled from Mitzrayim? No, that's in Ezekiel, because the prophecy is a 40-year prophecy that is that Israel would, not Israel, but Egypt would, the Most High was going to scatter them among the nations of the Babylonians, among those territories for 40 years. All right? But appreciate it, Yaquaba. Hope that answered your question. So again, let me go back here. Almost finished. But she is still simply a daughter. The United States is simply a daughter. The Roman Catholic Church is simply a daughter. Who is the bride of the serpent? Where did this doctrine originate? Let's revisit our collective nugget, right? When you read the passage, the 10 crowns, right, upon his horns, 10 crowns. As a matter of fact, let me bring that back up. Let's go to the 10 crowns. Let's go back to the early scripture here, so that way we can put it in its proper perspective for those that may have jumped in late, right? This is the scripture that we building off of here. All right, we're building off of Revelation chapter 17, verse 6. All right. And I saw the woman drunken with blood, the blood of the saints, or of the Israelites, the holy people of the Most High. But when we take it a step further, right? When we take it a step further, when we go up here, let me see here. Actually, I believe that's chapter 13, actually, is where we this comes from. I should have put the scriptures here. I'll just pull it up real quick. Chapter 13, because looking there, I believe that's where you see the husband. Chapter 13. Let me see here. Revelation chapter 13. And then I should have double checked to put that here. So when you read Revelation chapter 13, I'll just read it out loud. It says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." So that's the husband. Here is the bride, the woman that's connected to that, the husband. So these are the things that describes her. It says written on her, and upon her forehead was written a name written. Let me just zoom it in so you guys can see it, and I can see it clearly too. Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, In other words, you'll see the word porne or pornography, porn, right? When you see Babylon, right? The word Babylon means confusion by mixing, not just a portal, but confusion by mixing, mystery, mysterious, or mysterio, right? That word means by way of initiation. Initiation is what we're dealing with here, right? So when we see mother, this is saying that she is the source of harlots and abominations of the earth. So this is Revelation 17, but she is still the bride. So the bride, she is the bride of the beast that's in Revelation chapter 13 that I just highlighted. All right. So let me go back here. All right. So that's the nugget here. So I didn't add that scripture. I should have added it here. But upon his horns, 10 crowns. All right. Why is that important? 83rd book of Psalms, 10 crowns. Let's start with verse 1. Keep thou silence, O Elohim. Hold not thy peace. Be not still. In other words, be not quiet, O Elohim, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee lift up the head. So when we look at the Hebrew definition of the word tumult, which is hamai, means, it says here, to make a loud sound, to be in great commotion, to rage war. In other words, it's saying that they are making a battle cry. And when we hear people like these people that are doing today, trying to put out a battle cry by calling us culture vultures, by trying to say that there was no, that the Egyptians were not dark melanated people. They're saying that the Israelites are not dark melanated people. Soon they're going to be telling you that Ethiopia was not dark melanated people, because more and more we still see that influence, that Turkish invasion that's trying to make its way, seep in, and not just into what we see, but also to how we interpret any ancient text in that area. We're going to automatically default to these modern Arabs, the Turks. All right. Not the ancient people, not what I just shared with you, showing you Negro wigs or Negro hair. They're going to have us default to the modern stuff that we see here today. So tumult means war cry. And when we go to Merriam-Webster dictionary, what it says about war cry, it says a cry used by a body of fighters in war. But the key is entry number 2. A slogan used especially to rally people to a cause. Well, what is the slogan that they're using, right? Black Hebrew Israelites, the term is a slogan, because none of us call ourselves Black Hebrew Israelites. None of us call ourselves Black Hebrew Israelites. But they're using that as a slogan. They're using it as a battle cry. Hebrew Israelites is becoming a byword, a battle cry. Come on, family. Slogans. Now they're calling those that are educated or waking up culture vultures. Even that term woke, which referred to our people becoming more aware of the social suppressions around us. Now that's being even used. Oh, woke culture. Everyone is hijacking that term. Oh, that's the woke culture. In other words, conspiracy. They want to make that term woke into, oh, those are the crazy people over there. So they come up with these slogans to rally people behind, as you see here, to rally people to a cause. So now they got all these people jumping on the bandwagon, like the Candace Owens and many people from our own community who are clueless about history. Right. So again, they want you to focus on, oh, Cleopatra was Macedonian. She was Greek. But they don't want to talk about her mother, her grandmother, her sister, that were dark melanated women, that was proven that they were dark melanated women. So they just want you to focus on, when you think of Greek, oh, that's white. Like you see what I highlighted of the director of that movie, she made it clear, like, look, wait a minute, dude, the person that was coming at her, saying that, hey, you know what, Cleopatra wasn't black, she was Greek. And she's saying, wait a minute, and you supposed to be feeling good about that? You supposed to be an Egyptian. And you sit up here bragging just because you don't want anyone but the Negroes. You're allowing agendas to get to you, manipulate you to thinking that there's a problem with being dark skinned. Because why? It's still programmed in their psyche that we Negroes, we dark skinned people, melanated people, like they've been teaching up until the turn of the 20th century, that we were beasts, that we were created on the fifth day, that we are less than. That's why it's an insult to these people or any other people for us to be up under us, to find out that, wait a minute, they're the people of the book. No, wait a minute. You saying that the original ancient Egyptians, dark melanated people? Oh, no. Anything but what? Those that look like Negroes. Anything but the Negroes. So we have to be careful and not perpetuating this foolishness. We have to be careful, because I clap back hard. Hey, if you want to talk about the one drop rule, you guys didn't have a problem with declaring no matter who mixed with our people, they were still considered black. Whoever mixed with our people, you put a term on a mulatto, but that was still a subgroup under black people. And I don't even like to use the term black. So they got this war cry. They got this rally. See, this is what they're using. Sounded, man, I feel like I'm hearing the ADL, because it seemed like we just went through this about the ADL. Hey, the Hebrew Israelites, they taking something that's already ours. Anyone, anything but the Negroes. So that's what war cry is, a slogan used especially to rally people to a cause. And they are rallying, but they cannot get that movie taken down. Man, that's why we're going to do a live on that. We're going to do a review on that. Because if they could get that movie taken down, then that means, man, we got a lot of movies that we should be able to take down. A lot of movies. All right. So when we go to the 83rd book of Psalms, chapter 3 through 5, verse 3 through 5, this is what it says. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Who are the hidden ones? We are. We've been hidden. They knew that we were the people of the book. They know it. You know, like when I was watching that Pierre Morgan discussion with Bassem Youssef, who spewed out of nothing but lies. Nothing but lies. Oh, well, the black people, basically their culture, they have West Africa. They didn't build pyramids. No, you guys didn't build pyramids. You guys didn't build pyramids. Matter of fact, and since I'm on that, let me just update this slide here. I wasn't gonna go there, but let me add this to the slide here. Let me add this just in case, if that guy want to watch this presentation, or just so happen comes by this presentation, or somebody that may be following them that comes by this presentation, and they just so happen to see this portion that I'm going to show you right now, since they want to lie about history, since they want to lie about what's going on. Hey, let me just drop this here right now. Let me just add this in. You guys know how we do. Again, click the like, subscribe to the channel, family. Y'all know how we do. Let me go to this here. All right. Let me put this right here. Y'all know me. I've been teaching this stuff for years. All right, let's see here. I got it in. Let me clean it up real quick. All right, let's see here. Y'all know me, family. I like my presentations to look a certain way. So it'll burn me up if I didn't clean it up here. So, but let me add this here. Then we'll go back to reading this passage. All right. Okay, almost done here. I'm just cleaning up this slide here to have a little continuity. All right, so let's go back here. All right, let's go back. Let's go back here. Let's read Exodus chapter 1, verse 7. It says, Exodus chapter 1, verse 7 says, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there rose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph, right? So when we go here, right, Cranium Aegyptica, Samuel Morton, page 66, Dr. Samuel Morton, this is what he wrote. If it be allowable to make these data the basis of calculation for the past 35 centuries, it will follow that upwards of 10 million Negroes have been brought as bondsmen into Egypt during that period. Right? Bondsmen, slaves, right? I don't see anything that says Turks. See, they want to completely downplay and disregard us and also disregard the scriptures. Doesn't that sound familiar? That you have these people, they can bash the scriptures, and those that hate us so much, they say, "We'll hey, you know what? We got." I seen Christian channels lining up with these guys, as far as these modern Egyptians, and echoing the same craziness. And of course, you always see the hop and bobs among them as well. Don't have a clue about history. The vast influx of Negroes into the valley of the Nile. And remember this, family, if you study the Nile River, the Nile doesn't start from top to bottom. It doesn't flow from north to south. It flows from south to north. So when they say that the Nile, all right, the cradle of life, all right, the Nile would be further south. It'd be towards the center of where the Nile began, not all the way up at the top. Messing some people up with this, right? Going deeper into the Ethiopia, right? Blackface. Ethiops, blackface. Kamad, land of the dark people. The vast influx of Negroes into the valley of the Nile must necessarily have left its impressions on the physical traits of the Egyptians themselves in modern times, as seen in the Copts and in more distant periods, as proven by the Negroid heads, in which both the configuration and expressions are too obvious to be mistaken. But it may be inquired, how does it happen that Negroes of their descendants should be found in the catacombs? What they're saying is, how in the world do we see these Negroes that we have enslaved here? I'm studying these craniums that's coming from the catacombs over there in Egypt, but I'm seeing that their cranium, the nasal cavity, and all the different areas that they measure, he's saying that it matches the same people that's all up in Egypt, all up in those catacombs. Wait a minute, these Negroes here that are enslaved here, it says of their descendants should be found in the catacombs if they constituted a menial or slave caste in Egypt. It goes on to say on page 66, Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position in ancient times was the same that it now is, that of servants and slaves. Oh my goodness, man. This is a drop the mic moment right here. Matter of fact, this is the ducktail dance. Some of you guys should be doing this right now.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
Come on, family. Come on, family. They don't want to pull this stuff up. So even though some of his racist stuff was disregarded when he was saying that, hey, brain size determines your intellects and all of that, but they did not debunk, they did not discredit, they could not prove him wrong when he said that, made this assessment on the skulls that he analyzed, over 700 of them. And in this source, he got it drawn out and all. Right? So going back to the 83rd book of Psalms, right? Again, it says here, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones, right? You and I. They said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation. That the name, in other words, when you understand the Hebrew word for name is sham, means reputation. It also means literal name, but the reputation, their character. Let's cut them off from being a nation, land, family, and tongues. We was kidnapped. We was raptured. That's what rapture means: kidnapped, raped, murdered. Our identity taken from us, repackaged. That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. That we don't even know who we are. And guess what? And more people will start piggybacking off of the delusion. Right? You know, being as Jeremiah talks about, we inherited lies of our fathers. Not just referring to those other nations, it's talking about us too. We inherited lies. Because even many of our fathers were lost and brought on those lies, inherited and passed down lies. For they have consulted together with one consent, akkad. They are confederate, barayath, against thee, in the Israeli barit. Right? So the Hebrew definition of confederate, it says here, confederacy, federate, covenant, league, alliance, pledge. So they are in what? Covenant. They are in what? Constitution, because constitution is synonymous with confederacy. It's synonymous to covenant. It's synonymous to alliance. It's synonymous to pledge. It's synonymous as when you look up the word constitution. So they are in covenant. You can also bring up the Spanish word asiento. They are in covenant with one another. Confederate means covenant. So 10 kingdoms, right? The 10th letter of the Hebrew aleph bayat is the yad, which means redemption. That's the numerical value. So they're going to do everything to mess up with our redemption, because they know that the Messiah said in Matthew chapter 15 that he did not come for no one else. He was not sent for no one else but the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So they want to do everything to manipulate what salvation is. They want to do everything to manipulate what redemption is. They want to do everything to manipulate among our community what love is, what brother is, what family is. They want to manipulate us so bad that we start taking on their behaviors. They put a Messiah that looks like them, an image of this false Messiah that looks like them, and force it on us. 10 kingdoms came together and created a covenant to destroy Israel. The battle for Africa, right? Because they go into different parts of Africa. They're not just trying to tear up Israel. They're doing it with the Egyptians. They're doing it with everywhere we've gone to. You see that horses following, that black horses following them, that white horses following. Matter of fact, all these 4 horses is following us no matter where we go, to the 4 corners of this earth. And I proved that last week. So who are they? Now, when we go to verse 6 through 8, it tells us the tabernacles of Edom, the Ishmaelites, Moab, Hagarines, excuse me for butchering the name, Gabal, Ammon, Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. So guess what? Again, not all these Caucasians are descendants of Edom, but they're operating in the spirit of Edom. Esau's descendants studied Torah. Esau's descendants were allowed to go into the temple. When you read the book of Maccabees and, went against the things of the Most High, the king of Judah allowed them to dwell among them. Not all of them got absorbed into other nations. There were still dark melanated Edomites. But you also have, like the Khazars, they converted to Judaism, which is the Edomites' form of Torah. That's them coming up with their Torah. Remember the Talmud, right? They have their own Talmud. They have their own interpretation of scriptures. All right. So all these 10 countries right here, these 10 groups here, right? These are most of these are Israel, the Israelites' crazy cousins. But many of these countries are operating under the spirit of them. The Ishmaelites, the Turks adopted, they took a heritage that's not theirs. Right? Anyway, so who is the bride of the serpent? Who is the bride of the serpent? This serpent is the culmination of these 10 kingdoms. The serpent is Judaism. Their bride, Shekinah. Oh man, the queen of heaven is so many names for this Shekinah or whatever, or Shekinah. The Jewish community, as we know them, as we come to know, in the system that they have created, this mystical system, the Kabbalah, right? They have their own hermaphroditic God that is known as Ein Sof, and their diagram of his body is called the 10 Sephirah, right? So let me show you here. Let me show you a couple of clips here real quick. Family, we went through this here. We went through this. Let me show you here. Let me show you. Let me allow them to explain themselves. First, let this particular one, let me see if I have him here, this rabbi, explain to you what the Talmud is and what the Torah is without the Talmud. Matter of fact, no, I'm going to start off with the 10 Sephirah, right? The Ein Sof, whom they serve.
The 10 Sephirot. One popular interpretation shows these characteristics as a map of God's body. Kabbalists believe that if they can understand God's anatomy, they can learn how his powers work. These ancient drawings reveal that God's body is similar to humans. The top symbolizes God's head, which is the source of will, wisdom, and understanding. Below that are symmetrically arranged organs and limbs, representing love, power, beauty, eternity, and splendor. The most unusual part of the diagram contains sensual imagery. The ninth part of God, called the foundation, is the phallus, or procreative life force of the universe. But according to the Sephirot, God also has female components. The final element, often called Shekinah, was depicted as the feminine half of God.
The Kabbalah describes that the one self, God, has two aspects, the masculine and the feminine. And that the feminine aspect of God is what the Kabbalah most addresses, right? Which is referred to as the Shekinah, the divine presence. And it's the feminine side of God, which is the side of God that's described as receptive.
We would not know how to live on the Sabbath if it were not for the oral law. We would not know what the laws of the dietary laws of kashrut are if it were not for the oral law. We would not know what the tefillin, what the boxes on our arms and heads that we wear every morning in our prayer service, what they're supposed to be. And in fact, all of Judaism would be completely mysterious. It would be voodoo if it were not for the...
This is how the Zohar interprets the opening words of Genesis. The Hebrew is Bereshit, bara, Elohim, which we usually translate, in the beginning, God created. But the Zohar insists on reading the words in the precise order in which they appear in Hebrew. Bereshit, in the beginning. Bara, it created. Elohim, God. In the beginning, it created God. The Zohar takes that to mean, in the beginning, infinity created God. Now, what could that possibly mean? God is now the object of the verse, not the subject, which sounds impossible or heretical, but the Zohar, I think, is saying that infinity is the true reality of God. Anything else that we call God is puny compared to that. That's our own imagination or our own estimate of what God could be.
See, family, that's why I play this on a regular basis. And Sister Carol, she'll tell you I've been teaching this for years on top of years. So when he says, and I'm going to play that one clip again so you hear what the rabbi said at the end. I think I cut it off accidentally. When that one person, that last person that was speaking, that rabbi, that teacher, that scholar, when he said that the infinity created God, that's the Ein Sof. The Ein Sof is referred to as infinity. Right? That's all the Kabbalah, which stems from, that's embedded with the Maccabah or Maccabah mystical systems. Right? So let me play this one more time so you can hear real clear at the end of what this rabbi says about the oral law, which is the Talmud. Is supposed to be oral, but it's written. Now that's supposed to become the law of Israel today. So let's hear what he says. Let's hear what he says. Let's see if you can hear at the end what he says about without the Talmud, that the Torah would be like practicing voodoo. Listen again.
We would not know how to live on the Sabbath if it were not for the oral law. We would not know what the laws of the dietary laws of kashrut are if it were not for the oral law. We would not know what the tefillin, what the boxes on our arms and heads that we wear every morning in our prayer service, what they're supposed to be. And in fact, all of Judaism would be completely mysterious, would be voodoo, if it were not for the oral law.
So you heard it with your own ears. You heard it with your own ears. This is not me making it up. This is exactly how they feel about or what they teach. Right? Let me see if I can find this here. I want to see if I have the. Let me see if I have it here. Let me see if I could pull up the information to prove to you as well that Ein Sof means infinity. Let me see here. I got so many presentations. Let's see here. That's not it. That's not it. Let me try it a different way. Ein. All right. That's not in that presentation. I have it somewhere. I know I have it in one of my presentations. Let me see if I can import it real quick here. All right. Before I drop the link, 'cause I'm gonna drop the link for a few minutes. Let me see here. All right. Let me see if I could drop it in here. I may have some links here. Let me see if I could work on it real quick. Let's see. Man, I thought I had it in here. I thought I had it in.
New and existing customers can choose the phone name.
Sorry about that. That's my phone here. Let me see if I could do it this way. AI. Nope, I didn't have it. I don't have it in here. I thought I did, but oh well, family, I can't put it in here. But let me see if I could look it up, and I could bring it in this way. So you guys can see Ein Sof means infinite. All right. Like I pointed out, it means the infinite one. Let me see here. Ein. All right. All right. I'm going to I'm just going to share my screen here. Make sure that I have it saved somewhere else before I do this, because I'm gonna share this on the screen just so that way you understand that I am not making any of this stuff up, because I know some of this stuff can be brand new for some of you guys, so I don't want to, or some of it can catch you completely off guard that you didn't think that you would hear some of the stuff that I'm presenting here, these facts. All right, but let's see here. Nah, I don't have it here. Let me do one more search. If not, I'll just do it a different way. Yep. Oh well. Let me share this. Let me share this with you real quick. I'm just going to share my screen. Let me just add it, and I'll just read it to you online. We'll just do it that way. And then I'll drop the link for anyone that want to jump on before I wrap up. Let's see here. All right, let me do this now. Let me stop this here. Let me remove this one here. And let's go to all right, where is it? All right. Oh, here it is. Nope, that's not it. All right, here we go. All right. Let me make sure that this is on the screen. Can you guys see this? If you guys can see this, type 1. And I'm going to show you exactly what Ein Sof means. All right, I'm going to zoom it in. All right. Here's Ein Sof. Infinite. So when you hear that guy say infinity created God, he's saying, he's referring to Ein Sof. Right? And as you see here, name given in Kabbalah to God transcendent in his pure essence, God in himself, apart from his relationship to create the world. Since every name which was given to God referred to one of the characteristics or attributes. But again, they're referring to the Ein Sof, right? So let me zoom this in one more time. All right. Infinite, right? Or infinity. Let me highlight this here. Now let me play that clip again. And this is exactly what this guy meant when he said infinity created God. He's actually referring to Ein Sof. Here we go.
This is how the Zohar interprets the opening words of Genesis. The Hebrew is Bereshit bara Elohim, which we usually translate in the beginning, God created. But the Zohar insists on reading the words in the precise order in which they appear in Hebrew. Bereshit, in the beginning, bara, it created, Elohim, God. In the beginning, it created God. The Zohar takes that to mean, in the beginning, infinity created God. Now, what could that possibly mean? God is now the object of the verse, not the subject, which sounds impossible or heretical, but the Zohar, I think, is saying that infinity is the true reality of God. Anything else that we call God is puny compared to that. That's our own imagination or our own estimate of what God could be.
There you have it, family. There you have it. There you have it. There you have it. No need to drag it out any longer. I'm going to drop the link in real quick, briefly. It's a Friday, so anyway, it's not like it's a work night. Appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. Tomorrow night we'll be live again. We're going to deal with the lesson on the Jada Pickett controversy. We're going to go in deeper into that. All right, so let's go ahead and let me unlock my camera here. All right, family. But yeah, in a nutshell, family, that's why I want to do this lesson, to show you guys that there is a battle for that whole continent. Right, it's not just for Israel; it's for every player, everyone that they deem to be players. Is to take that entire culture, the culture of everyone that's outside of them. So we already know wherever we scattered, they're chasing behind us. They following us no matter where we are. All right. But nevertheless, let me see here. I see Mr. Pirate Brain. Let me bring him in real quick.
How you doing today, sir? Shalom.
Doing great. Yourself?
Doing well, thank you.
That's good. That's good.
I came in late into your into the live stream, and I was wondering, what movie are you talking about? Is that the one that Jada produced? Yes. What's the name of the movie?
Cleopatra. They haven't. It's not even out yet. See.
Oh, it's not out until February.
No, it comes out. It's going to be released May 6th. So all this controversy is occurring before the movie even broadcasts.
So is it going to be on Netflix, you think?
Yeah, it's going to be on Netflix.
Okay. I just was wanting to make sure. These people are devious. They're just devious. You know, they make a big deal out of a movie. It's just a movie. And it's true that we are the people, but they misrepresent us in so many ways and so many times. And we're able to come out with one film, and they're going to make a huge deal out of it.
And see, because of history, anything but the Negroes. Remember, I've been saying that for years.
Right.
Anyone but the Negroes. right? We can't say that we are connected to anything but what they tell us. Right?
And
That's
I think I told you before, I'm 61, and it's for as long as I can remember, they would say their whole thing was go back to Africa. And the moment a large portion of us go back to Africa, they start going to Africa looking, saying, well, wait a minute, they leaving, going to Africa. We don't want the Negro to leave, but they always tell us to leave as a slur. If we left and went to Africa, this country wouldn't last a month, because we are the commerce of the country. We work, we buy everything. The country would fall.
And that's what they built their capital off of, us.
Exactly.
Because capital comes on that word capital, that word cattle. They all come from the same Proto-Indo-European word, kaput.
Right. And if we went to Africa, I mean, I don't believe the Most High has given the word yet to go back to Africa. But if we were to go back to Africa, we would have to fight. But I don't think they would drop any nuclear devices, because they want that area so they can't destroy it.
Yeah, and not trying to get too far in that conversation about the Africa thing, but what I teach, and it's with scripture, the Most High going to always have a place. His ultimate target is for us to go back to our own, not to go to a territory that we were scattered to. Israel is the place where he wants us to go. Israel is the place where he wants us to return to. But right now, we can't return to Israel. We can't.
But are they talking about that particular Israel, or would they be talking about Uganda? Or
Uganda is not Israel. No, I'm making it clear. We got to go off we have to go off the biblical text. I'm not going. I don't really get into all the other stuff. I go firmly off of what the scriptures, whether people believe it, wherever people believe Israel is going to be the original place that the Most High deemed. So
that's what I'm asking you. Actually, I don't know. I named that because I've heard it, but I don't actually know it. I don't know if Israel is the place where those people are right now.
Well, for me, according to scripture, unless someone could pull out artifacts, we have to go off of what we see, because there's that. And again, that's some complete, a whole nother topic that we could deal with. But right now, I just don't want to get into all of that, because it'll take away from what we discussed. But really appreciate it. But any comments about what we talked about tonight outside of that?
No, I just was listening and trying to grasp a hold of it and get an idea. What's the name of that director of that movie?
I can't remember her name. I'll drop the link inside the comment section. Actually, I think I already did, but within that link, it has her name inside the article that I pulled it from. Let me see here.
Because they're kind of what word can you blacklisting it on it's hard to find it on Google.
Find what, the movie?
Yeah.
No, you're not going to find a movie. It hasn't been released yet. It's going to be a Netflix documentary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jada
Thank you so much for this sermon that you've been teaching tonight. It was captivating.
Oh, appreciate it, my brother, and thank you for the love and support. Really appreciate it. I'm just looking for the link right now. I'm gonna drop the link. I thought I had it. Let's see here. I'm gonna drop the link in the comment section, and that way you'll be able to see, get the information on her.
Okay.
Yeah,
What time are you coming on tomorrow?
I'll be on my for our Shabbat service. I'll be going live on the backup channel. We Woke Extended at 12:30. Normally I go live at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then as far as here, I'll be live tomorrow night at between 10:15 and 10:30 tomorrow night.
10:15 and 11:30. Is that 10:15 Eastern Standard Time? Because I'm in Texas.
Yes, Eastern Standard Time.
10:15. Okay. I really appreciate this info.
No problem. No problem. And who you want to throw in the garbage can before I let you go?
That preacher that was the guy that was talking of infinity and all that.
Yeah, we got to put that that mystical stuff.
Put him in the trash can, and then you can give him the boom bang pow.
All right, let's give him the garbage can. Yeah, let's give him the garbage can.
All right. I love that. Thank you so much.
No problem. Let's give him the 3-piece real quick.
Okay.
And let's give him his order to go. All right. Appreciate it, my brother. We'll be back on tomorrow night, okay?
Okay, I'm going back down to in the chat room. Thank you.
All right, but listen, if you get a chance, go back over this lesson, but listen to the one that I did last Shabbat or Saturday night, and then that'll help you get into this one here. I deal with the 4 horsemen. So this is kind of piggybacking off of that, but I'm dealing with prophecies that talk about the battle for Africa.
Okay. All right. I will.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, my brother. Have a great night.
You too. Take care.
Don P. Got you next. Brother Don.
Hey, Pastor. You easing them into it. You're easing them into it. That's a very good lesson. I'm going to go back and listen to it again because there were nuances that you gave that need.
Hey, Don, I don't mean to cut you off. You sound very low. I can barely hear you.
Okay, so I'll try to speak louder because we're dealing with some audio stuff.
Okay.
So if I speak louder, can you hear me now?
It's still low, but it's better. It's better.
Okay. And I was saying, really good lesson. As we close, as we get closer and closer to what is supposed to occur, these people are fighting more and more. It's just like, it's funny because Egypt is a key. If Egypt falls, i.e., if the Mizrahims were melanated, that in turn means that Yasharal has to be melanated as well. And so the whole construct falls apart. And so what we're watching is we're watching the serpent eating its own tail. It's eating itself because it's the ones putting out this information. But, Hasatan always thought he was smarter than the Most High anyway. But I just wanted to say, I really appreciated the lesson. It was a really good lesson. I realized some people are catching up. We're already on the continent. We're already doing things in countries. I'm already planning my stuff, what I'm going to do, and the people that are working with me, what we're going to do on the continent, because Babylon is falling. She's falling every day. And he said, if the Most High speaks, well, the Most High has spoken to a lot of us very distinctly. And he said, my sheep know my voice and they follow me. So if the Most High told you to get out of here or whatever instructions the Most High gave you, That's what you need to follow. Because other than that, what's said is disobedience. If you know what to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, hey Don, I don't mean to cut you off. For me, and like I said, I just don't want to go down get into this discussion. We could have a separate discussion for it. But for me, I just, if the Most High leads you or any individual to go over to Africa, that's fine. But the Most High is not going to lead. The Most High is not going to lead His people over to a territory without the goal of going back to Israel. He's not going to just have us go occupy different areas. He has a uniform corporate deliverance that He's going to do for His people. So I'm not knocking anyone who, that goes there right now. Most High tell you to leave there, leave here, go there, because nevertheless, no matter how we look at it, Babylon is at these four corners. Babylon is still over in Africa as well, right? Babylon, the judgment, when the judgment comes, is going to happen to the four corners of this earth, no matter where we are. So I'm just saying, I just don't want to get into the discussion.
No, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that about whether, people. I simply stated that if the Most High spoke to you, and I'm sure, Pastor, the Most High spoke to you in a very distinct voice that you recognize as the Most High Yahuwah, you had to follow that voice.
Yeah, and again, I'm not arguing that. Yeah, my argument.
But here's the other thing is this.
Hey, Don, I just don't want to get it like.
No, I don't want to get into the weeds either. I'm just saying Nehemiah and them left before a lot of the people left Babylon because they had to prepare the land for the people's return.
No, well, let me see, and that's the thing. When we deal with Nehemiah, when we deal with Jeremiah, when we deal with those guys at that time, Nehemiah he returned to Israel. He returned to Jerusalem. They repaired those areas. When we look at Jeremiah, Israel during that time, those that was in Babylon was those that were taken from Jerusalem, that was taken from Judah. When you read Jeremiah and it says, especially when you get to chapter 51 and it says flee Babylon, it's telling them to go back to Jerusalem, telling them to return to Zion, because in Jerusalem, the remnant of all 12 tribes occupied Jerusalem. So it wasn't this thing of them just going to any other area. It was a targeted place for them to return to the very place that the Most High had promised to us from the very beginning with Abraham. So when you read Jeremiah, and like I said, that's why I just really don't want to take this discussion away from what we discussed tonight, because then we get into a whole nother discussion that could take away from the overall lesson. But like I said, I just, if the Most High talks to you and tell you to go over there right now, that's fine. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm not. I just don't agree with the corporate thing of the Most High is going to tell Israel, all of us, just to start fleeing to Africa with no purpose. We're in Africa. The goal when we see flee Babylon is to have us to go to our own land. So, but nevertheless, hey Don, let's keep it on there. Let's keep it on what we talked about tonight, though.
Okay, let me just say this. Yeshua Mashiach said, "Look, for the fields are white for the harvest, but the laborers are few." We here know so much more. And so maybe some of us have been given to the body as a gift of true evangelists.
That's what I'm saying, Don. I just don't want to get into it because, again, when we get into that, it's a whole different discussion. But let's do a discussion. Let's do it next Friday. But tonight I just don't want to take it away from what we talked about tonight. Like I said, if the Most High puts on someone's heart individually to go over there, that's fine. But corporately,
he said he'll
he has an
gather.
intended place
He'll
for his
gather.
people.
He said he'll gather.
Yeah. So,
So I
but
agree
anything
with
else?
that 100%.
But what matter of fact, we have excuse me if I mispronounce your name, Mia Lu. Did I pronounce your name correctly, Mia Lu?
Yes, can you hear me? I have my earbuds in.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. This was great.
Before you do that, before you come on, hey Don, did you have anyone that you want to throw in the garbage can?
Yeah, go ahead and put Joe Biden and that was it Democratic talkers caucus in there. Go and put them in there because they ain't no good for us. So just go on.
I'm throwing all of them in there, both sides of the house.
Sheila, the talking head, what was her name? Anne Marie, John Marie, or whatever her name is. Throw her in there too.
Jean Marie.
All right. Throw them out here. All right, sis, you have the floor.
Hi, Pastor. Thank you for the continuation of this lesson. I put something down in the comments that was interesting. I really don't want to get too far in the weeds on the whole movie situation, but it is interesting. I don't know if you've heard Jada Pinkett Smith lost her show platform as well.
Yeah,
so
I was going to do a
think,
video on that, but I didn't have time to do it. But yeah.
I feel like, and then of course, Gil Gadot, that they put millions into her Cleopatra movie, and I just wonder if this is just a coordinated effort just to come out in front of the melanated Cleopatra, and just try to get get that narrative. And get the real push behind that other movie. Nothing can show our people with any type of prominence, right? But I wanted to, or melanated people with any type of prominence. But I wanted to ask a question about Africa. I think in your lesson, because it kind of seemed to me that the battle for Africa has always been. So I know it feels like a more compelling situation for us because we're living in more heightened times right now. But it seems like that's always been a conquest in history or a central focus, even just based on the fact that it was consolidated to a continent, or created as a continent. And I just wondered, what your thoughts were on that. It seems like this has just always been going on.
Yeah, and as I stated in the previous video, yeah, we see that there's been a number of battles for key areas of Africa, because when we look at Africa, so to speak, it went by a number of names. Right. Whatever was the dominant territory is what they call the overall landmass, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But when we look at the Greeks, when we look at the Romans, when we look at the Babylonians, there was this assertive effort to conquer this whole huge continent, and especially when we get to the descendants of Japheth, so to speak, the Romans, the Greeks, they want to make sure that their imprint is on everything. They want to make sure, because according to the institution of race, right, they taught that we were less than. They taught that we were animals, and because of that, they cannot see themselves as being less than us, or how can I put it, submissive to us, so to speak. When we look at Napoleon, and you read some of the historians and what they report about Napoleon's response when he went out to Egypt and saw that there was a culture, a community of people that was far more advanced than his culture. You know, seeing statues with the noses and the lips, and began to purposely mess up those noses. That's why we see many of the statues, the nose are is taken off, the lips are taken off. They use many of those images or those statues for target practice. So yeah, but going back to your point, there's always been, especially when we start looking at on this level, right? When I say this level, when we start looking at the going deeper into Africa, going to not just Africa, wherever we are scattered to, but that we see that there is a ongoing battle to conquer that landmass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the and I guess I don't know if there are really two sides of thought when it comes to what we now know Israel to be. I think I had always believed, and I mean I could be wrong, that actually was Africa, or what we would know today to be part of Africa. Is that not true?
Well, Israel has always been part of Africa.
No, I mean, not
the Middle East,
what we call the state of Africa, because the Middle East isn't really a thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the Middle East is really Northeast Africa.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all a part of Africa. That's
right.
That's something that was created in like 1903, 1906. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how they continue to annex the entire continent. Like when I dealt with the Berlin Conference and really dealt with the different groups, they annexed. It was a goal to annex the entire continent. So, but yeah, Israel is part of Africa. So, but it's Northeast Africa,
Northeast Africa. Okay.
Yes.
And there was, and when I remember, and I don't know if I listened to this on your channel. I listened to your podcast while I'm at work all day. So, and I don't know, and I don't know if you address this or not, but when that was taken over by the people that are there today, they killed so many people, families, Christians, people, and that doesn't really get talked about. And I kind of see, when you look at sort of the footprint and sort of the things that continue to go on in Africa, it's the same. So now we're talking about Sudan. 1948 it was Israel, Sudan, and so all of these places have gone through the same thing. Just a continuation of the same thing. It doesn't change. I think we just miss it because we kind of get distracted by, we don't really, I guess, for my thought is that as a people, and even in our history lessons, we're not really focused on the prophecy lining up with the cycles that we see going on, and that continuation through history. So I really do appreciate that you've really locked into that, because it kind of made me think about what does continue to occur in Africa and how important it is to where we are in this time, in times, in prophecy, because it really is an important place, more so than I think I was thinking before, until we kind of hit upon this lesson, and you just kind of go through your old Black history lessons and books and things like that, and understand that continuation of war. I'm not sure that there's ever really been peace in that geographical, or in the continent of Africa, for any length of time.
Yeah. There's been a number of conflicts there, whether it's internal conflicts or external conflicts. There's been a number of conflicts there. Before we continue, I want to give shout outs to my cousin, Shalonda Carr. Let's show some love to my cousin here, the wife of the late Dr. Sean Carr. I want to say peace and blessings to you, cuz. Love you. Tell the family I say hi. So family, show my cousin Shalonda Carr some love. She is in the chat. All right. But
I just wanted
yeah,
to thank you for this lesson. Yeah, I won't keep you because I know it's late, but I just wanted to thank you for this lesson. I'm really excited for the continuation of it.
appreciate you as well. Anyone that you want to throw into the garbage can tonight, anyone or any group that you want to put inside
I
the
would say
dumpster?
the modern day Egyptians that are coming against that are making life miserable, for some simplistic history for people. This is so important for our kids to see things, to see these types of recounts of history, and to know that this is just going to be a constant battle now. I even heard, or I had on my timeline, actually right before I started listening to you today, some non-melanated YouTubers making a big deal about this.
Oh yeah. Because
I mean,
see,
just going in on this like it has anything to do with them at all, right?
well, in their minds, technically it does, because if they concede, even though it doesn't matter whether they concede or not, but if they concede, if they don't say anything about Egypt looking like you and I, then that's going to carry over to the Jewish community as we know them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when I pull up the word, for example, if you get a chance, look up the word Phineas, right? Phineas actually means the Negro, mouth of brass. It's a Egyptian word that is used. It's a common word among the Levitical priests. So just that name alone tells you that Phineas was a dark melanated person. He was a Negro. So that tells you that the priests were Negroes as well. So if the priests are Negroes, that means that Aaron is a Negro. That means that Moses is a Negro.
Yeah.
So you see the rippling effect of that. So of course, they're doing what we should expect them to do, and that is to gaslight it, make it more than what it really is, try to discourage people from watching it, which actually is going to do the reverse, especially when you know how marketing works. It's going to do the work. It's totally opposite. It's going to be probably one of the high, I guess the most, probably the highest ratings on Netflix that they probably have in a while because of the controversy. And I know people are going to watch it just because of the controversy, because I didn't even know that they was coming out with one until I heard saw the Netflix controversy on it. So
I didn't either.
So yeah,
I didn't either, and I'm glad for the controversy. I will, of course, watch it and support. Even make a point of watching and supporting it now. So, but yeah, it's from the lowest to the highest of things that don't matter. There's always going to be a fight, and I think for Israel, for us, for our people. So as we would just gear up for it.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Once again, thank you, Pastor Kelly.
No problem. No problem. Who do you want to throw up in the garbage can?
Oh, I'm going to throw Egypt up in that garbage can tonight.
All right. Let's throw the modern Egyptians.
The modern day
Yeah,
Egyptians,
let's throw them up in there.
Yeah.
Let's give them the
I always
garbage
forget
can.
what tribe they are, but or who they are in terms of their tribe. But yeah, let's just throw them up in there.
Actually, I'm going to do a lesson on that. I taught it eternally, but I'm going to do a lesson on them.
Okay. You don't
All
have
right,
anything in your back studies that relates to that?
I touched a little bit on it.
down?
If you look for the lesson that says the deception of the English language, I touched a little bit on them.
I'll go back and listen to that. I'll put that in my saved category for work next week.
Great. Well, let's go to give the garbage can to those guys. This fake, or should I say this selective outrage. Let's give them the garbage can. But appreciate it, sis. And I'll
All
be
right.
here
Good
tomorrow
night.
night. If you want to
Yep.
jump on tomorrow night, feel free to do so. All right. But have a blessed Shabbat. Okay.
Oh, you too, and everyone else
All right.
in the chat tonight. Night.
All right. Have a blessed night. Love you, sis. And until we talk again. All right, family. Really appreciate you guys. Matter of fact, let me just show you guys this real quick before we wrap up. Since I mentioned Phineas, let me show you this here. You guys know always, if I'm going to bring something up, I like to show sources as well. So let me show you Phineas real quick, and then we'll wrap up what I said about Phineas. You know, because again, it's so many things that we can just extract from the text to knock down a lot of the stuff that many are trying to come at our community with. But let me go ahead and bring this up here. Actually, let me add a couple of slides here, and we'll deal with Phineas real quick, being that I mentioned it, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up, call it a night, because I want to go to sleep as well, like you guys. Let's see here. All right, let me do this here, and I'll give you clarity on Phineas. All right, let me bring this up here. All right, and family, go through some of these videos. There's a lot of foundational videos that are out there that I've taught within the within my playlist. I cover so many different subjects. All right, but let's go ahead and deal with Phineas real quick. Exodus chapter 6, verse 25. Notice what you see here. Eleazar, Aaron's son. Eleazar, Aaron's son, took him one of the daughters of Putiel to wife, and she bare him Phineas, Payan Kas or Payan Nakas, right? Starts with Pa, mouth, right? Nevertheless, these are the heads of the fathers of the Levites according to their families. So we see the Levites, we see Aaron's son, Aaron's son's son, which would be Aaron's grandson, right? As far as Phineas, it'll be Moses' grandnephew, all right, the nephew of Moses. So when we go to 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 3, right, we see it again. And this man went up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto Yahweh of hosts in Shiloh. And the two sons, two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phineas, we see his ancient name here again, the priests of Yahweh were there. So we see here again, we still dealing with the priests. We dealt with Aaron's grandson in the previous text. Now we're dealing with Eli's son here, and Eli is a high priest, right? And then if you go to Numbers chapter 24, actually chapter 25, you'll see Phineas there, right? So he was a priest. But this is the Eastern Bible Dictionary. It says Phineas, mouth of brass, or from old Egypt. Notice what it says, the Negro. Uh-oh. 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 Phineas the what? Come on, family. Uh-oh. Share this video. Hit the like and subscribe to the channel if you're not part of the channel. But we see Phineas the what? Phineas the what? I'm in my DMX voice. Phineas the what? The Negro. Let's do the ducktail dance. Let's get it going.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
So you see Phineas, right? Mouth of brass. This is the Easton's Bible Dictionary, 1894 edition. Mouth of brass, or from old Egypt, the Negro. As you see here, as I highlighted, Exodus chapter 6, verse 25, right? Eleazar was a high priest. Aaron was a high priest. His son name is Phineas, which more than likely high priest. Then when we get to Numbers chapter 25, We see Phineas here. The Negro. The Negro. All right. So the garbage can to this selective outrage. Let's give the garbage can. Come on, family. Can't make it any plainer than this. Cannot make it any plainer than this. So this is the Easton Bible Dictionary, 1894. You can download this. You can download this. You can download this. So we have plenty of receipts, so to speak. We could go all through the text and we'll see plenty of examples. I'm going to drop a video again, even though it's in anyone but the Negroes. I'm gonna drop the video, a clip on Jeremiah chapter 14, the ashy dark Negroes. That's right, family. Jeremiah 14 is dealing with ashy dark Negroes. Quadar means black and ashy, and I'm gonna break that down. That's why it says their skin is like Judah is mourning. The cities are weak. Their skin is like the ground, like the earth. In other words, going down to verse 4, their skin is chapped. Their skin is is ashy like the ground. Come on, Negroes. Y'all know if we jump out that shower, that cold air hits you, you don't put any lotion or anything on oil on your skin, you are going to get ashy. Quadar means ashy black. And that's what that passage is dealing with. But I'll break it down. I'm going to upload a video that, and just put that online for you guys to read. So again, Phineas, mouth of brass from old Egypt. In other words, saying that this is a loaned word from Egypt. And this word means the mouth of brass, the Negro. All right. So we can't make it any plainer than this, family. This is why it's imperative for us to tell our own story. We cannot let people do it for us because they already proven they're not going to tell us the truth about our history. So with that being said, family, in the words of the Most High that he gave to Moses, according to Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, you will never have to deal with them ever again. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker, family. You have to hold your peace. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel.